All right. Welcome to a joyous episode of Daily Gooner pod here. We're missing our fourth wheel, Ryan, this week, but the rest of us, I think we have enough mirth to carry this one after a joyous and satisfying North London derby this past Sunday. I'm Raphael, as usual, joining you from the United States. Here, my two witnesses to the slaughter. To my left is Jacob. Welcome, Jacob.
Hey, how's it going?
All right, I imagine it's that smile hasn't come off your face since Sunday.
No, it's been ear to ear ever since.
And Sam, I imagine look a little sleep deprived, but a good kind of sleep deprived.
Yeah, all good. You know, all right, guys, with a little insight. Yeah, good, happy. You know.
Well, so many places to begin. Let's begin with the atmosphere. I think everybody watching around the world, you two were at the Emirates. You could feel it. This was just different in probably a good way. And I was asking before we came on the air, Sam, when was the last time you were at the Emirates and experienced something that positive?
From my personal experience, it's probably the first North London derby where we won 5-2. That one, same bank, right up in the gods, but it was just electric. But I was saying to Jacob on the day, like, back then it was kind of expected that we would have won, but with this one, it was just different. Everybody was on the same page. Everybody was united. There's no so-and-so started. Everyone just got behind the side, and it was electric from getting off the tube station. Well, not even getting off the tube station. From going down to the pubs, walking past the pubs, then getting onto the tube, getting off at the Arsenal. As you walk into the stadium, it just had a completely different atmosphere to it. It was absolutely buzzing.
Jacob, again, this has been the promise that's been held out. Stay with this club, stay with this manager, stay with these youngsters. And what Sam's describing to me, it seems at least, and I saw it, I heard it, you could feel it, that the support was there, that there was this energy, and it was behind. There wasn't, we hear of agendas all the time, we see it on social media. None of that on Sunday.
No, and I've actually gone back and watched the highlights, and yes, it's obvious even from the TV, the highlights, but the electricity in the stadium was unbelievable. As Sam said, like, well before kickoff, like walking down the road to the stadium, the concourse before the stadium, and then all throughout the game. Obviously, the early goal revitalized everyone, really got that atmosphere going, but it was non-stop. Like, I don't know about Sam, but my throat is still recovering, I think.
Yeah.
And it had that kind of dogs and cats living together in harmony. I mean, I saw it I knew minutes before the kickoff when they flashed Thierry Henry in a box, and he's wearing a vintage 90s top JVC logo, and he's with Daniel Ek, and he's like, there is no rancor, there is no divest, sell. Everybody is here to watch Arsenal win. And let's go to the match, as you said. Talking about the side, let's start with the beginning. 4-2-3-1. Xhaka back in the side. I think it's something some of us were wondering, should he be there? Should he not? But Sam, I mean, everybody that Mikel picked was ready for this match from first second.
Oh yeah, 100%. And this is the thing. Arteta said before, I think in an interview a couple of days before, saying that I will make sure these players know what it means to play in a North London derby. And from the first second, the intensity, the pressing, the way that we just basically ran that game, the manager got into these players what it meant to win this game. And to be perfectly honest with you, what it meant to, I think our season really kickstarts from here. I know a lot of people said it was against Norwich, Burnley, but I think Spurs is the one where it kicks on because essentially we laid down a bit of a marker.
Right.
So for me, I think our season now properly kicks on. I think that the way that we played in the game, we really do not have many issues if we can play to that standard moving forward.
And Jacob, we talked about this so many times, going back to deadline day when we were here all day and Tomiyasu came in, and we're going to talk about him a lot. And I want for some tips on him because he's quickly becoming my favorite Arsenal player in after 3 matches. But let's go back to this because it is worthy of repeating, is worthy of holding up. This Arteta 11. This is his bunch. I was looking at the players that were out there. Who are holdovers from the previous regimes? It's Tierney, Xhaka, and Aubameyang. Everybody else here, this is Mikel's team. And he picked them for a stage like this. And as Sam said, he had them prepared. And I was thinking of you talking about the 5-2 win. That's one of his probably highlight games as an Arsenal player. He had not been here very long, but he was central to that beating. And I'm sure that's part of the knowledge and the tradition and the intensity that he was going to impart. Jacob's all yours.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned back on deadline day, the first 11 now is definitely his team, because even those 3 you mentioned that are holdovers, they've all been given a new contract under Arteta. So there was no doubt that starting 11 was his team. And maybe now we're seeing what Arteta's football is. That's his first 11, and they performed very well together. It was a very balanced side. But yeah, obviously Arteta has played in North London derbies. He's also played in Merseyside derbies. He's played in the Old Firm derby. He knows how important derby games are to fans, even if you're not from the area or whatever. He knows that each club has that one game that your players have to be up for. And he made sure every single member of that starting 11 was 100% up for it from minute 1. So yeah, he's got his 11 playing his way, and he's got them playing with the right attitude. And we've slowly seen that build over the last couple of games. Since we got those injuries back, since we got the signings done, we have been improving. We've got those wins under our belt. This just felt like everything coming together. He's been saying in press conferences he needs the fans on board. He needs the support. He was saying when there were no fans, he can't wait for a stadium full. I can't imagine. I think that is probably his best day as a manager, to be honest, even despite the FA Cup win, because he will not have been in a stadium that electric at the Emirates yet with the fans going. So him pulling the fans together, him pulling the team together, everything just culminated in that game.
All right. And Sam, picking up on that, I do recall, they had the horrible start, and then they had the 2-week international break where a lot of the players were available to him to prepare. Coming out of it, he was saying to the press, he said, these last 2 weeks have been transformational. And a lot of, he was counting on the fans to take him on faith, but he really decided this is different. We worked a lot. We have worked hard, and you're going to see a different product coming out. He wasn't lying.
No, definitely not. And this is the whole point of what we said this season, is that with Arteta, with not being in Europe, he can get players onto the training field and really work in how he wants to play, especially with the players we've got now, because they're young, they're hungry, they're eager to learn, they understand what he's asking. The press of where we want to go and the areas that we press in to a lot higher up the pitch now. And having, I'd say, probably 80 to 85% of the squad on that training pitch is always beneficial, because you are literally having your side there constantly for 2 weeks. You'll give them some rest period. You'll be able to get them in, get them to really build relationships on that training field, because essentially we brought in a lot of players over the summer, and we need them to build relationships on the pitch quickly. And we know the relationships that we already had in existing players, but factoring in the new players as well. You can already see the partnerships between Ben White and Tomiyasu Saka. You can also see Lokonga when he comes in, the partnership with Partey. Everybody has that understanding of where they should be, what ball they should be playing. If that ball isn't on, where else can they go? And people will say, oh, this Arsenal team's a bit robotic. Unfortunately, football is getting a bit robotic now because there's patterns of play that coaches want players to play because they understand that's how you win football matches now. It's systematic how you win football matches, essentially. So the days of people saying, oh, I want Wenger ball back. As good as Wenger ball was, it's a completely different era of football now. You can't be going tooth and nail at a team and be wide open at the back because you'll be torn apart. We've seen it. Seen it. Look at Brentford, for Christ's sakes. They done it to Liverpool the other day. Liverpool are going to have to adapt their style in certain games because if teams have got hard runners and that are able to counter attack quickly, they're going to be screwed. Leicester will be screwed. Now we're coming away from that counter attacking aspect. It's a case of being smart and having the right balance at the right time in the right areas of the pitch. And this essentially is what Arteta is drilling into the players, and it's what's been needed for a very, very long team. And he made a very prominent point of saying that we're rebuilding a project right now.
Yeah, and this is really the initial steps of it. He's finally got his piece. And we talked about this over and in. COVID took his first big window. He took his first camp away, and then playing without the fans, and then not being able to move out the players he wanted to move out quickly and having them hanging around and kind of preventing this. But he finally got it, Jacob. Let's go to this, 6 new players. Really, if we keep Odegaard, you can say, okay, 5, but he was only here for half a season. So 6 new players, permanent players coming in the summer, 4 of them factored in this run. 4 of them factored on Sunday in no particular order. Let's start it. I mean, we like to start the back. So let's start at the back with the new guys, Ramsdale, White, Tomiyasu. They were immense. Every single one of them. Take one and what stood out from that player? I mean, there's just an abundance of riches here, but let's take our time with this. Let's savor this.
I'll go with Ramsdale because many fans were against the signing, and I will admit I had my, I wasn't sold on him. I wasn't convinced by him. I had my doubts. That's well publicized. However, he is turning fans' heads quick. And it's not just his shot stopping or anything like that, as much as because they are, and I'll get to those, but it's his character. Everything about his character screams he is a big club and a leader. He's a big club player and a leader, which we hadn't seen before. Maybe it was the environment, maybe not. But personally, that wasn't something I was aware of him from before. But there were moments where he was it. I mean, Spurs' chances were few and far between, but when they had them, he made it known to those defenders in front of what he wanted from them, what went wrong. And even when, can't remember the exact moment, but he made a save, players went to congratulate him. He shouted at them, told them to stop that and just look at the ball and get straight back into action. He didn't want the plaudits from his players. He wanted them focused and back on the action straight away. And everything about that, just obviously we've had weak mentality in this club for a while. He screams that he is strong mentality and he looks a great signing. Now, obviously, he made some great saves as well. Near post saves, that one from late on from Lucas Moura that he tipped onto the bar. Phenomenal save. And his distribution, that really stood out. He's calm, he's composed, he picks the right pass to the right player in the right space. Admittedly, he got a bit lucky with one out the Xhaka, which Xhaka did well with and that's when we actually scored a goal. But on the whole, I can't fault Ramsdale from what he's done from when he's come into this club. And given that he had the doubts around him, those doubts are disappearing for most fans very, very quickly.
And staying with him, I was impressed again when he surrendered the goal to Son, how furious he was that he got a hand on it, and yet he didn't get enough of a hand on it to keep it out of the goal. That his standard is you will get nothing, and his physicality in the box, right, as you said, that it's a different environment, it's a different vibe. Sam, I'd like you to kind of size up Ben White, because again, he came in first match, wasn't the greatest match. Then he had the COVID incident, and I think being out and not rolling out of the box as a superstar, and the loss to Brentford, it made a lot of people question that signing. It's an immense signing, 50 million pounds. But as you were saying earlier, his relationship with Gabriel is gelling pretty fast.
Yeah, and you've got to think, in the Brentford game, he was with Pablo Murray. So with that, he's having to really cover two aspects of the centre-back position. Obviously, he's having to cover the right side, but also be the cover for the left side if it was to be slipped down behind Pablo Murray, because as we know, he's not the quickest of centre-backs, but it was a bit of a hell for leather game, and where you haven't got, I think it was about 5 or 6 first-team players in your starting lineup, unfortunately you're on to a bit of a loser. But ultimately, since he's come back and he's been paired with Gabriel has been a monster in that back line. So you're having Gabriel next to him, you're allowing Ben White to concentrate on what Ben White does perfectly well. That is nipping in front of attackers, winning the ball, being dominant over them, being composed on the ball, picking out the right pass. If the right pass isn't on, carrying the ball out of centre back, and ultimately releasing it at the most opportune moments, either to a fullback, to a centre midfielder, or a long ping or diagonal ping to the wingers or the striker. So, as I said, partnerships are very, very key in football teams, and your centre back pairing need to be spot on, because if one's slightly off than the other, then there's going to be issues and some weaknesses can be exposed. But again, it's finding the right partnerships. I don't think Ben White and Murray is the right partnership, but ultimately Gabriel and Ben White is, and that is the future of our centre back. And then to factor in the how can I put him? The contentious Frenchman to come back.
Saliba. I was about to bring him up. They have a third. That's the kind of the delicious part. I mean, let's talk about him a little bit, and we'll go back to the pairing. But he's reports are he's getting better, right?
Yes.
And the agenda people say, well, why is he there? And we know why he's there, because he wasn't ready. Mm-hmm. But yes, as you think of this project, the thought of having a third young, major physical center back joining this, and he's already on the books, is just mouthwatering.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it gives you a lot more tactical fluidity if you need to go free at the back. Because imagine a back three of Gabriel, Ben White, and Saliba. That is mouthwatering in the prospect of just saying them 3 names. But ultimately,
True.
I think moving forward, I think either 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 is the primary formations of what we're going to be doing. So ultimately, as I've said many a time on the pod, it's down to competition, players' mentality. If you want that starting space, you earn it on that training pitch, and that includes Saliba. And if he's not up to the task, And if he expects things to be handed to him, sorry, Arteta's not the manager that's going to do that for you, son. You need to earn your way onto that pitch. And
And-
ultimately, if we need somebody to come in, it's not a bad rotation or not a bad sub to come in. So, you know, we've got partnerships forming with Gabriel and Ben White in centre back. It'll be interesting to see the mentality of Saliba when he comes back next season, because ultimately I think that's going to be his sink or swim moment, is his mentality.
Well, and Ben White isn't going to hand this to him. We saw this. I mean, Spurs started this match going at Ben White. They had Harry Kane up. They thought we're going to lob the ball into Kane. We're going to test you. And I was impressed by Ben White's ability to just out physical. We know Kane likes to undercut guys. We know he knows the dark arts of the position. And Ben White's just like, I'm going to go over you. I'm going to take this ball away. You're not going to get the ball where you want it.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is that what people have got to remember is Ben White's come up through the leagues. So he's been there, done there with the rough and tumble of the lower leagues. He knows exactly the physicality of how that pans out. And with people like Harry Kane, as you say, they've got the dark arts of them, but he's got more than enough experience, being a key word over Saliba here, in dealing with that, because you don't want a centre-back to be being rash into Harry Kane. God, we've seen it with so-called experienced defenders, with Mustafi. Yeah, I can't even be bothered to name the other shitters, but you know,
they're better forgotten. It's a good day. Today is a good way. It's a good week, right?
So we all know how that used to pan out. So to have somebody that's composed and methodical in the way that they actually defend and are able to dominate and win the ball, you know, it speaks volumes for what he does. And people are going to look back at that 50 million in a couple of years and go, fuck me, that was cheap.
I'm going to move outside because, again, I've just been so impressed by this young man who came over from Bologna on deadline day and came in basically how many sessions did Tomiyasu have with the club before he started? Was it one?
I think
Two at the most.
It's one or two,
maybe.
yeah.
One or two at the most. Steps in, looks like he's been there for years. And we know what Spurs want to do. It doesn't matter if Nuno's the manager now, it's not Mourinho, but they want to work the ball to Kane. Son was feed and have Son running behind him. They killed Arsenal with that combination last year. You know, Kane getting the ball higher up, Son and runs behind, and the ball was going early on. They were sending the ball to the left, and this player, he's just a rock. Everything up his side comes right back. Doesn't even give you a chance to set up. If it's in the air, he's dominant there. If he comes on the ground, I think White made a great slide tackle, but Tomiyasu is like, his ability to prevent crosses from the left wing to coming into the box is like, okay, you're going to throw in. That's, I'll knock it out and you can throw it in, but you're not going to get what you want. And his consistency is like all the little things. He's 2-footed. He gets out of trouble. He doesn't get himself into trouble. And after all of the experiments, all of the disappointment of all the right backs, and as you said, I'm not going to name them all. We were talking about them just a month ago. Arsenal had 4, but they really don't have one. And suddenly they have one. And how refreshing is that? Jacob, I know you've been waiting a while, so I'm going to give you the 4th member who's again, now he can relax. Now he can get in. Martin Odegaard. We saw him win the Burnley match with a wonderful free kick. Decisive in this match in a very different way, in the way we expect him to be, between the lines, getting the ball and setting up an attack that really until this weekend hadn't existed for this club.
Yeah, and again, he's another one who divided a lot of opinion during that summer transfer window. Obviously, on this occasion, I was firmly on the side of Odegaard. He was the man I wanted, and his performances, I'm feeling very vindicated in it. He has been absolutely phenomenal since coming in, but this game particularly, he he made himself available. He got into the pockets of the space. He gave Xhaka and Partey options. He gave Tomiyasu options. He was everywhere that was needed. He went, the space there. You need an option. I'll be that man. So he was helping get the ball upfield just by being there, getting into that space, going, knowing where that space was and being available. From there, okay, yes, he didn't have the direct involvement of a goal or anything like that this week, but everything that happened, he pulled strings for. He was either passing the ball out to the players that needed to go to, or he was dragging defenders away, creating space. So when Saka wanted to cut in, Odegaard was going right a lot. So the defender, does he go with Saka? Does he go out to Odegaard? They had no idea what to do. And here, so just that ability to take up the right spaces at the right times just changed the game for everyone. And then, yeah, and when he is on the ball as well, just he's so classy. He makes some very difficult balls look so simple. And even sometimes he does play simple balls, but he plays them at exactly the right time that even though it's a simple pass, it helps you break lines. And we missed that, particularly first half of last season when there was no one there to receive the ball. So midfielders could only go backwards. When we did get up the pitch, the passes weren't right or they were the wrong pass. Odegaard just makes everything tick, even if he's not directly involved. And you look at the stats and go, oh, he didn't have a goal or assist today. It's irrelevant. Everything's just ticking around him. So even though he's not directly involved, so much of it comes through him that you've got to give him credit for them all.
Right. I'm also impressed, and you can talk about this, by his selflessness. It seems when they're pressing, he's got the energy, and when Arsenal lose the ball, his dedication, his drive to get back and help recover it. You know, he's not just lagging up the pitch. We've seen other players who play that position, they get caught up. We won't mention names, but you know, he really is. He's just going to run until his lungs burst. But I mean, he's so vital to what is now becoming a really tight defensive scheme for this club. You know, I don't know. I was disappointed when Son scored just because of 3 clean sheets were this close. You know, that's becoming the expectation of this club, and I love it.
Yeah, I mean, that was one thing that was mentioned back on our debate pod, that Odegaard was really leading the press last season. He chases that ball down relentlessly, and now the other players are going with him. Last season he was doing that a lot by himself, which was great. He was working hard for the team, but now all those other players are going with him. You look, if a Spurs player, even if they were at left back, if a Spurs player had the ball at a left back position, we had 2 or 3 players around them going, what are you going to do? And the only option they had was go long. Oh, look, Gabriel Tomiyasu clearing up the ball. So that press from Odegaard and from all the other players up top was relentless, that Spurs didn't have a chance to play. We didn't give them that chance. All they could do is go long, which maybe has worked in the past for them, sending it up to someone like Kane. But our defenders weren't having that on the weekend. So the combination of it all just played out so well.
Sam, let's go to the attack, because coming into this match, we were saying, it's not there. A free kick won the Burnley match. Norwich, kind of a scruffy goal, very, very, very late. And we said, I think you were the one that said on the last pod that it's coming, and I'll let you toot your own horn here. You're saying if they're this far and if that snaps, they're going to pace this team. And they did. And talk a little bit about the work rate. We've been hammering the strikers for the last year and a half. Really, kind of Lacazette's the whipping boy, but Aubameyang too. Kind of, is he on the left? Is he in the center? Last year he was not himself, but his work rate in this match, contributing to other people getting goals, and then in that second goal, really, he made that one for himself. It was beautiful.
Yeah, and this is the thing, is that a lot of people will say that Aubameyang can't do the link-up play, but he can, and he shows that he can. So essentially, my gripe has been with our strikers is that they don't press in the right areas, or they're lazy into the press. Therefore, doesn't allow the rest of the team to press with them. So with Aubameyang from minute dot, he was off. Odegaard was off. If Odegaard went beyond him, he was following. And it's not one where he makes a half-assed effort to get to the other defender. He's making that other defender. He's sliding to block balls. So for me, the press of the strikers was phenomenal. And then you've got the work rate of Saka, Smith Rowe, as I said, Erdegaard in there as well. Them as a four is enough to suffocate any team. And with this, it will always be something that if we play with real intensity, other teams won't be able to live with that. And then you've got a solid base of Partey and not Xhaka now because looks like he's gonna be out for a while, but maybe Lokonga to come in. It's really setting platforms through this team, and then you've got a really solid back four as well. So we're looking like we're hard to break down. We're looking like we can counter attack when we need to counter attack. We're looking like we can play the possession football when we need to play the possession football in the right areas and spring into the attack in, again, right areas and able to suffocate teams and not allow teams to have a minute on the ball to force mistakes. Even if it was going back to Lloris, he was kicking it out and it was going out of play. So, it's that type of play and intensity that we've missed for a very, very long time and is what we need. And it's galvanizing to see it because as a fan base now, we've got something to hold on to and we'd be like, yeah, we play like this now. This is our style. This is how we're gonna progress forward. And as we progress, the team's gonna gel more. It's gonna happen more. The clicks are gonna happen more. It's something that is going to evolve into something really beautiful to watch. And then you start adding in world beaters into that first 11 or first team players to come and compete with other first team players. You don't bring in backups, or you bring in a young player that's going to push an older player forward. So it's them little things, them little characteristics in the team, in the locker room, on the training pitch, on the pitch, coming on a sub. The other guy thinking, "Fuck, I've got to raise my performance next game to keep my place." So it's all that rolled into one, and it's gonna be very good to watch. It's just waiting to happen.
It's funny, Jacob, I'm going to toss you this bone because we're talking about all these players and sitting in the middle of this all, just smiling, dominating the game. It's almost invisible, but it's like brilliant, invisible brilliance. We're talking about Thomas Partey, and we've really seen his game just kind of evolve, that he really is that kind of linchpin now to this whole thing. And it's just, as we think of how it's coming together, I just keep that man healthy. Everything really kind of clicks. There's a balance there when he's sitting in the middle of the park.
Oh, absolutely. And it was noticeable last season, when he was available and when he wasn't, the performance levels and the results. It was noticeable. He is an absolute dominating midfielder in all aspects. We saw him in this game, edge of the box, dispossess Kane. We saw him play. Yeah.
Several times, right?
Yeah. So we've seen that. We've seen him just move across the space and intercept the ball. We also see him play a phenomenal pull into Aubameyang. He's capable of doing it all. Now, he's not necessarily known for all that. Actually, his shooting, I thought he was going to score on Sunday.
So much better. I mean, we joked about it last year. Everything was in row, Z, and now he's found the box. It's not a
Yeah, I
joke
mean,
anymore.
we knew before he came in, like with his international team, he has scored goals. He's capable of it. Last season, I'm not quite sure where his boots were, but was he ever fully fit at any point last season? Every time he seemed to get fit, he went injured again.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, if we can keep him fit, he is an absolute boss in that midfield. Just everything goes through him. He's available. He can pass out. He's so press resistant as well. And I think the biggest thing about him is he makes whoever he's playing next to look good as well. Like we know Xhaka has issues and all of that, but we've known Xhaka with a lot of midfield partners. Xhaka's best performances have come when they're with Partey. They formed a very good partnership. So Partey has also lifted the level of Xhaka and brought out Xhaka's best qualities. And his best qualities are good qualities. So hopefully it looks like he'll be playing next to Lokonga for a while. If Lokonga can, play with Partey, keeps the pressure off Lokonga a little bit, playing with such a good midfielder. But there's a lot to learn there, and Lokonga will learn from him. So a great player and also a leader. And yeah, keeping him fit. Well, to be honest, keeping most of our first 11 fit is going to be crucial. We said back on deadline day.
Right.
The issue is, our first 11 now is building something. The options below that bar, one or two positions, really take the whole level of the team down. So we really want to be keeping every single member of that first 11 fit as much as possible.
Right. Sam, going back to the attack, ideally, we talked about this. Smith Rowe on the left, Saka on the right. They came through, we were saying it's a lot of expectations, a lot of weight on these young shoulders. Neither of them's 20 yet. They're getting close, but that's a lot of responsibility. And they looked very seasoned. And Emile Smith Rowe, especially, talking about after the match, this was the best match of my life. And he just was so composed. We saw this with him in the championship, this level of this ability to kind of just like hover above the game. But he really was in tune, scored a beautiful goal to start it off. And we've been saying this, like if he gets the taste of blood in his mouth, that a lot of goals could start coming from him.
Yeah, and this is another thing, is that we've got to remember these are young players. With Smith Rowe, he scored a lot at youth level, and they weren't like just like little tappings and things like that. These were really impressive goals. It's just waiting for that to transition into his senior playing. But ultimately, he is somebody, I think, playing next to Erdgaard on the left-hand side, that helps him a lot because he doesn't have to come across and do everything. It allows him to concentrate at driving at the defense, picking the pass into the striker, making a run beyond. It's them sort of things. I'd like to say it's a little bit Ramsey-esque, but I'd say more of what Perez used to do back in the day. He used to play so close to, close to the striker, not take up the pockets of space that the striker needs, but he's smart enough and intelligent enough. He knows when to take a defender away. He knows where he needs to run in behind again to open up a bit of space. There's a lot that Smith Rowe does off the ball that isn't often captured on the TV, but when you're there in person, you're watching him and you're just like, boy, this boy is doing a lot of hard graft.
Mhm.
And then you factor into his short passing, his long passing, medium passing, the quick touch and goes, and his chance creation. That's only going to get better because he's seeing the passes. He's got the right experience around him now to teach him to have that conversations. Go, I'm in this. Where should the ball go? You know, so I think he created two clear cut opportunities, and I think that as he progresses, that will increase. His assists will increase, and overall performances will just elevate as the team gels and gets better.
All right. We could keep talking Spurs forever. Important match coming up this weekend, though, Jacob. They play Brighton, who's off to a really good start. Draw yesterday against Crystal Palace. Kept them from going top of the league. So they have maximized their opportunities. They already have 4 wins, only 1 defeat. Bit injured, though, coming out of this match. So maybe a small break for Arsenal. I think it's unclear if Basuma is going to play. But again, Arsenal have an opportunity in front of them. What do? Do you change anything? Should you change anything if you're Mikel Arteta?
No, well, obviously we're going to have to change Xhaka, but at the end of the day, we want to be the team that's going to go and impose on other teams. And Brighton have had a great start, but there's no one in there that necessarily stands out too much in the teams they've beaten. They had, yes, okay, they finished low in the table, but they played well last season. So I don't, as good a position they're in, we now building something, and we shouldn't really be looking to change it. We want to see what this team and this starting 11 can do, and if they can put a run of games together. And I think that's going to be the key, get that consistency in performance as well. Because how many times last season did we go, we're not in a great position, but if we can get that run of games together, we'll pull ourselves out of it. Never put that run of games together. Every few games we hit a stumbling block. And obviously we'll hit stumbling blocks this season. But if we can put longer runs of games together and hit the stumbling block less, then that's really going to show where we're improving. Obviously, Sunday was a big result. It's a big statement. But, putting runs of games together is really going to be where the key is this season. And, going to Brighton shouldn't really scare us. We should be able to go there. And yeah, they give us a tough game. They've got some good players, but we should be able to go there and play our own game and impose our football on them.
All right. Sam, let's look at Mikel Arteta talked about formational flexibility. When he went up to Burnley, he had 4-3-3, Partey at the base, Smith Rowe on the left, Odegaard on the right of his midfield. This match, Xhaka was back, 4-2-3-1, a little more defensive cover going against Tottenham. Xhaka's out. Might you go back to the previous formation? I mean, he has flexibility now, but might you put Partey at the base, keep Smith Rowe, and then maybe let you bring in a Pepe rather than leaning so much on Lokonga, or do you stay with what's working or what just worked?
No, I'd bring Sammy Lokonga in. For me, I think 4-2-3-1 will again suffocate Brighton. I think they've got six injuries, so if that is the case, we really need to get at this team. And again, it's building the patterns of play and building the consistency of what we need. And I think if you're flapping from formation to formation week on week, I don't think that helps build that. But I firmly believe if we were to stick with the 4-2-3-1, we're looking at a big result against Brighton.
Okay, so is your chance. We're going to injury time in the pod. What result do you predict this weekend?
I'm going 4-0.
Wow. Okay. That Spurs magic dust is okay. And I'm not going to challenge you, Jacob. What do you see coming out of Brighton?
I'm going to go 2-0. Part of me wants to go 3-0, but I'm going to go 2-0. But I do think we're keeping a clean sheet.
Okay. Well, I will take I was leaning towards 2-0, and now I'm going to go to 3-0. I mean, I think they showed enough in 30 minutes what they could do to Spurs team. I think they're not going to face a team that's as unsettled. Spurs seemed really unsettled. I mean, as much as good as Arsenal was, part of that I think was Tottenham's in a funk right now. Their new manager, people, there's some discord that's clear, but I think we get 90 minutes of attack or longer attack. Arsenal really seemed to kind of settle back with that big lead at the half, and I see 3 more goals, but I'm with the two of you. I think the back is gelling and it's feisty, and with Ramsdale at the back, goals for the opposition are going to be really, really hard to come by, and I can't wait. So, all right. So we want to thank all of you who have joined us and join us every week here on the pod. We hope to have Ryan back with us next week, and we hope to have more good Arsenal results to share with you. So again, for me, I'm Raphael, for Sam, and for Jacob, we bid you all a good night.